With thousands of games getting released on Steam every single year, how in the world are you ever expecting to stand out from all the noise? Well, you want to stick around because in this week's video, I'm going to show you some crucial tips on how you can actually leverage your video game trailer to boost awareness for your upcoming indie game. Let's get started. Now, when it comes to assembling your video game trailer, there are 4 crucial items that you'll want to include inside of that trailer that really gives you the best chance of success. Now, unfortunately, these items typically get overlooked a lot, and it's one of the main reasons why your trailer just doesn't do that well online and doesn't really get exposed to as many people as it possibly could. Tip number 1 is to make sure you have a recognizable character. Now, depending on the genre game, if you're developing a simulation, this doesn't really apply, but amongst all other genres, typically in a game, you're going to have an antagonist and a protagonist. You don't have to show off both in the trailer, but making sure very early on in the development process that you have very easily recognizable traits of each really will help it stand out amongst all the other games in the industry. One of the reasons that Mario, Sonic, Master Chief, all these characters have stood the test of time is because they're easily recognizable. You can put them in a lineup of thousands of other video game characters and they have very distinct traits that allows every single one of them to stand out from the crowd. So having these distinct traits for either the hero or the villain is really one of the fundamental elements that you're going to have to establish early on, but it's really going to set yourself up for success in the long run when you eventually launch that trailer. Tip number 2 is actually very clearly expressing to the viewer what the genre is, what the expectation of the game is, and what the tone of the game is. And if you express this clearly tells the viewer whether this is a game for them or not. And if it's not, it's okay. But you always want to be as transparent and authentic as possible when expressing your video game trailers. So you can quickly identify who your target audience is, let them know this game is for you, or if it's not. If it is, head on over to Steam, click that follow button, click that add to wishlist button. One of the biggest problems that I see with video game trailers is they try to turn video game trailers into a cinematic experience. This is not a movie trailer. We need to stop with these long landscaping shots. Expressing the environment of your game is absolutely okay, but the problem is these landscape shots take 20 or 30 seconds and viewers are only on average going to watch the first 7-ish seconds of your trailer to quickly identify whether they want to continue watching it or not. So you only have just a few seconds to grab that person's attention and hold on to it. So you need to deliver a very concise message within just a few seconds so we don't have time for those long landscaping shots. So if you're developing a first-person shooter game, make sure you showcase that in the trailer and preferably just the first few seconds. If it's a platforming game, make sure that you show your character jumping from various platforms, swinging through the screen, so that clearly gets conveyed to the viewer. Tip number 3 is to please show your gameplay. How many times do we forget as gamers ourselves that typically we get pretty agitated when these big time publishing studios just simply release a game trailer that's, like I said previously, a huge cinematic experience. It looks cool, but it doesn't really express anything. What is the gameplay? What does it actually look like? What am I going to be doing as the gamer? This conveys to me, this sends me a very clear message whether this game is for me or not. Show your gameplay, even if it's very early on. If need be, put a little disclaimer in the corner of the screen and tell people this is a work in progress. These graphics are a subject to change. It's okay. People understand, especially coming from an indie studio. People nowadays, we've seen this with the Switch and through most of Nintendo's products, graphics are just not the most important thing. Gamers truly care about gameplay, storytelling, and just the total narration and whether we bond with the characters or not. Another tip that I would add is to make sure that you're clearly showcasing action scenes as early on in the trailer as possible. Once again, remember, we only have just a few seconds to hold that audience member's attention. So if it's a fighting game, make sure you show that in just the first few seconds. Even if it's a cozy game and it doesn't necessarily have a lot of action sequences, show some emotional moments as well. One great example of this is the indie game Lake, which showcased a woman talking to her father on the phone and really struggling whether she wanted to move back home or just stay where she was, where her job was, where she was finding a lot of career success. This was incredibly emotionally impactful, and I would highly encourage you, showcase those action moments or those highly emotional moments in just the few seconds of the trailer. The fourth and final tip is to always include a call to action. Now, if you've never heard of what a call to action is, it's basically you conveying to the user, these are what your next steps should be. We don't want them just to view the trailer, say that was cool, and click away. We want them to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want them to add the game to our wish list. We want them to join our Discord server so we can stay in communication with them and keep increasing those marketing touch points as the next several months or maybe even years pass throughout the development process. We don't want them forgetting about our game, so we have to find a way to stay in touch with these viewers. And please avoid all vague messaging as much as possible. Vague messaging is just basically saying at the end of the trailer, coming soon, expansion coming soon, release date TBD, anything like that. We have to remember, as gamers ourselves, every time we watch a trailer that we're really into and we see the TBD or coming soon or no release date shown, how much it agitates us as gamers ourselves because we want to know details about this game. We just spent 60 seconds with you or whatever, how long the trailer was. We want to know more. If we're excited about your game, when is this thing coming out so I can get my hands on it? There is nothing more disappointing than seeing an awesome trailer for a game that you're highly anticipating, only to see no release date or just a vague coming soon at the bottom. At the very least, you don't have to give a release date, but at least set the expectations. Say, fall of 2024, winter of 2024. Give a timetable. If you're in a situation where you honestly don't know what your release date is, it's okay to leave it off. But at the very minimum, include your call to action and let people know what platforms your game is coming out on. That is what you should have bare minimum. And as just a bonus, if you do have some sort of timeline when your game is releasing, at least put the season and the date, and that's it. You'll be good to go. So there you have it. There is how you construct your first video game trailer to really expand your overall awareness of the game and set yourself up for success. Remember too, there's plenty of games that have been successful that have had absolutely terrible trailers, just to be honest. So having a bad trailer might not necessarily make or break your game, but it can absolutely set the bar high and push you far past everyone else that you're competing for attention against, just because a great trailer that really showcases a clear protagonist, antagonist with very distinct traits, showcases the genre and gameplay and the tone of your game, and especially including a call to action at the end, it's really going to convey the messaging to your viewers that this game is right for them or not. So I would highly recommend take the editing process of your trailer very seriously and try to showcase as many of those tips that I provided in just the first few seconds. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.